All right, welcome back to Good Morning Anambra. And this time we're looking at a very important theme for the day, 2019 celebration of World Press Freedom Day.
And that's why we're here. And we already have somebody who has joined us to look at that today. And that's Emma Udaga, Secretary, NUJ, Anambra State. You're welcome, Emma.
Thanks for having me.
We're supposed to have you and the chairman, but unfortunately the chairman is not yet here. So let's fire. The United Nations General Assembly declared May 3rd to be World Press Day to raise awareness of the importance of freedom of press all over the world. And during that declaration, they made the statement that no democracy is complete without access to transparent and reliable information. It is the cornerstone for building fair and impartial institutions, holding leaders accountable, and it goes on and on and on. All this trying to point out the importance of press, or rather the functions of the press to the whole nations of the world. Before we continue, we would like on behalf of the board and management of Anambra State to congratulate the media, both print and then the electronics, on their day today, World Press Freedom Day. Okay, Emma, let's go on now since the chairman is not here. Remember, I'm still here with Dave. Okay, let's start looking at the UN position of the press. Okay, by telling us exactly what the press has been like since independence, if we try to domesticate it.
Well, the journey of the press has been long and tortuous. You will recall that the Nigerian press, taking it more specifically, has been or was in the forefront of Nigerian the struggle for Nigerian independence. And you remember readily people like Dr. Anambra and the rest of them. The input they made, to eventually enable the country to achieve the independence that we desired at that time, in spite of the very many problems on the path of Nigerian achievement of independence. So the Nigerian press has really come a long way.
Nigerian press have really come a long way. What will be your analysis of the situation, let me say, in the past 3 years? Do you think whatever success that were made has been sustained?
Well, the press, like other industries in the country, has had their own challenges. But more specifically, the media is charged with the responsibility of ensuring that leaders, apart from informing the people, that leaders are held accountable, to the people. And that is ensuring that they fulfill the objectives, contained in the third charter of the Constitution regarding what the governors or people who are governing should be doing.
So, and from the assertion we made here that no democracy is complete without access to transparent and reliable information. Does that include the Nigerian democracy?
Yes, if we have to refer specifically, because the theme for this year, as a matter of fact, is media and democracy, elections, journalism and elections in terms of disinformation. So taking it from there, it would be right to say that the press was not given the opportunity to actually showcase that ingredient that is required for the state, to be on course. You know as much as I do that.
What do you mean by giving opportunity?
Yes,
they've given you
state actors, the government, and some other agencies are usually afraid of the media. So they want to keep the media away from developments. And that accounted for why we had so many problems during the election. You know, you are aware of the problem of militarization of the electoral process.
Were you stopped from reporting
Yes,
it?
even in Anambra State, there was a report, confirmed report, of some journalists who were stopped, unjustly detained at Agolo from proceeding with their assignments. Journalists from major newspapers in Anambra State, correspondents of major newspapers in Anambra State, the Vanguard, the This Day, the Sun, and the Punch. And at that point, some people took exception.
Okay, we'll like to look at what the press is doing with the Freedom of Information law that we now have on ground, not wanting anybody or waiting for anybody to give them opportunity or whatever. But we're coming back. Let's talk to the people on the streets.
Means giving the information uninterrupted, uninhibited, raw, direct, the way it's supposed to be. Being independent, well, to some extent, I would say yes, because there are some institutions that have been put in place to ensure that the press is actually free. Okay, like you have the Nigerian Union of Journalists, you have the Press Council. So these are checkmating institutions that should ensure that there is freedom and there is independence in the information system. But the truth remains that in practical terms in Nigeria, one can hardly see the freedom, one can hardly see the independence, because anywhere you can always see interferences, either from the government sector or even from the private sectors themselves.
Language freedom. It has to do with the independence of the press. It has to do with a situation where the press, the fourth estate of the realm, is allowed to operate without encumbrances, without undue interference, either by government or by individuals, as the case may be. Well, from the Nigerian scenario, journalists are not free to operate, especially those in the state media. You know, they have limitations, so to say. They don't have that freedom.
Much government interference in the freedom of press. So it will be okay, it's very good for the goodness of the country if the government will stay clear and then give the press much needed freedom to be able to operate, because it will do good to everybody, both to the government and then with the masses. If the press will be given much freedom to be able to carry out their work effectively.
Cannot be independent. Of course, you know they cannot be independent because there should be a regulation. In any human activity, it has to be regulated. It has to be total freedom.
Okay, good to have you back. I will have joining us now Mr. Ima Ifesnachi, Chairman, NUJ, Anambra State. You're welcome.
Thank you.
Chairman.
Thank you.
Okay. Before you came in, we have started looking at what the World Press Freedom Day stands for and how far we have gone as a media body to carry the Nigerian democracy along. And now, before we went on break, we were talking about the press not being given a free hand to operate. But I know there's a Freedom of Information Bill, and I'd like to find out from you, Chairman, how far has the press assessed this law?
Yeah, at times there are laws and, the operators of the law, usually the problem we have, there is this, constitutionally we are given the latitude to operate in line with the ethical calling and, and some other laws. But, the operators who are the government agencies, they are the problem. They don't want to allow the media to operate as it should be as professional body. So that is where the problem lies.
Where the problem lies.
Yeah.
But I think that comes in when there's a breach in a security, whereby you want to give a sensational report on a particular issue that could cause breach of peace in the society. You think that's not supposed to be controlled there?
Yes, when there are certain issues that are sensitive, that is where information management comes in.
Okay. Dave?
Still on this issue, some people would argue that the issue of whether you are whether there are interferences with your work is wholly dependent on the journalists. Some people argue, in fact, that journalists are also part of the problem, while the FOI have not been implemented. What's your take on this?
Yeah, that is why we are calling on our members to be, ethical. The moment you are ethical, you're on the right track. Is across all professionals. In other professionals, there are people who want to cut corners. Likewise, in journalism profession, there are people who want to cut corners, and that is why we have the union. The union is an umbrella body that controls the behavior of practitioners. So when we perceive some people who are going contrary to the ethical calling, we sanction them. That notwithstanding, there are especially the political class, they don't want to give the press the freedom to operate.
And you think it's the press that has you think the press has not mortgaged their freedom in the hands of these politicians?
Yes, sir.
Where some of them are personally attached to them, reporting and fighting openly for them.
Yes, we try as much as we can to discourage such attachment.
Before we look at what you are doing there, you wanted to say something?
Yes, based on, I think what you wanted to ask was similar. He gave an example of what happened during the elections, where some journalists were held along Agolo Nibonise Road.
Yes.
What has the union done to ensure that those actions, the people that committed it, they were taking responsibility, or they took responsibility for the actions they made on those journalists? Those are the ones that were reported. There were other issues. I think there was an ABS reporter also that was manhandled at Adasen Nuku. What has the union, both at state level and the national, to have done to ensure that the interests of journalists are protected?
Yeah, that is why we are liaising. We are partnering with the law enforcement agencies. Those people that perpetrated the act are law enforcement agencies. We don't have the powers to arrest the law enforcement agencies. Okay. So what we did was to bring the complaint to the corridor of the leadership of those agencies, like the Commissioner of Police, and people reported the matter to our National Secretariat, who took it up. Mm-hmm. We are trying to, at times, some of these things are a function of lack of knowledge. Some of these law enforcement agencies doesn't even know what the press stands for.
As we are trying to round up, will you also look at the welfare of your union members now, about their insurance? Let me take on you, Emma. About their insurance, we know that some of them die or got injured in the line of duty. What are you doing, to make sure that these people are protected?
Yes, at the national level, there is an insurance package for journalists. But above that or beyond that, we are asking journalists to be very mindful of their safety. You have to be mindful of the environment where you work. And then to owners of media establishments, we also enjoin them to ensure that they equip their workers, these media workers, with the knowledge and skills that they require to be able to perform their jobs.
Okay, thank you very much, Chairman. As we are leaving, please, we want to hear your message to your people as you celebrate?
I call on them to be ethical in their conduct, in their approach to their professional duties. I think that is the only way they will be, keep themselves safe from danger.
Okay, Emma.
My own is to government, because this profession appears to be the only one that there's this official antagonism. It is on record that between 1903 and 1998, there are over 90-something anti-press laws. This is not...
But those ones are not there now because you have been given a...
No, the freedom is not absolute. The freedom of information has not been domesticated by most states.
I gave you opportunity to talk on that. Okay, thank you very much, but you did it. Okay, we just have to go. Okay, then we'd like to thank you very much, Mr. Emma Ifesnachi, Chairman, NUJ, Anambra State. Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you.
Though you were late. And then another Emma, it's coincidence. Mr. Emma Udaga, Secretary, NUJ, Anambra State. Thank you so much for coming. Okay, thank you. And before you came in, I had congratulated you on behalf of the board and management of ABS as you go out and do your work without fear. Thank you. Do stand by for next segment, Dave.
All right.